When things go wrong at a football club, bringing in an interim manager is supposed to be a band-aid solution, a safe pair of hands to steady the ship while the board searches for the permanent appointment. But sometimes that band-aid falls off spectacularly, and what was meant to be a short-term fix becomes a masterclass in how not to manage a football club. Today, we're diving into 7 of the most catastrophic caretaker reigns football has ever witnessed.
Look, I'll be honest, we're swamped. The World Cup hype is real and Goal 90 Shop is officially at capacity. If you ordered this week, please bear with us for a 2-week processing delay. It's a good problem to have, but we are working around the clock to get your gear out. Thank you for your massive support.
Let's start with what might be the freshest wound for Tottenham fans, a club that's become something of a regular on lists like this. Yes, they'll appear here again. They are currently staring down the barrel of something previously unthinkable: relegation from the Premier League. Igor Tudor's appointment was meant to provide stability after Thomas Frank's sacking. The Croatian arrived with a reputation for short-term success, having steadied ships at Juventus and Lazio when parachuted in mid-season. What followed has been nothing short of a disaster playing out in North London. The scenes outside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium ahead of their clash with Nottingham Forest told the story. Thousands of fans lined the Tottenham High Road, scaling railings and sitting atop bus shelters, creating a haze of blue and white smoke as the team bus crawled through. This wasn't celebration, it was desperation, and their fears were justified. Spurs collapsed to a humiliating 3-0 defeat, with Forest leapfrogging them in the table. Tudor's side didn't register a shot on target in the second half until they were already 3 goals down. The Croatian has now won just one of his 7 matches in charge, earning a solitary point from 5 Premier League games and overseeing a 4-1 thrashing by Arsenal and elimination from the Champions League. With Tottenham now sitting just 1 point above the relegation zone and matching their joint worst points tally after 31 games in their entire league history, Tudor's stint has gone from bad to catastrophic. Let's see if they keep him until the end of the year. Now let's speak about Newcastle United, and yes, they're going to dominate this list because their managerial history is essentially a case study in chaos. Let's rewind to 2008. Joe Kinnear's appointment as interim manager following Kevin Keegan's resignation was bizarre enough, but what happened 4 days into the job elevated it to legendary status for all the wrong reasons. Kinnear had been out of top-flight management for nearly a decade, yet Mike Ashley thought he was the man to rescue Newcastle's season. During his 23 matches in charge, Newcastle won just 4, lost 9 and drew the rest, plummeting into the relegation zone. Kinnear's tenure ended in 2009 when he was rushed to hospital with heart problems hours before a match against West Brom, requiring a triple heart bypass operation. Newcastle were heading for the drop, and the Kinnear experiment had failed spectacularly. Which brings us seamlessly to Terry Connor at Wolves. When Mick McCarthy was sacked in 2012, the club turned to Connor, McCarthy's longtime assistant, to see them through the final stretch of the season. The decision defied logic. Chief Executive Jez Moxey had publicly stated they wanted an experienced manager, even offering the job to Alan Kirbishley, who wisely declined. Connor took charge with Wolves, sitting 18th, and what followed was mathematically the worst interim stint in Premier League history. 13 matches, 0 wins, none. Not a single victory. He drew 4 and lost 9, including 7 consecutive defeats that condemned Wolves to relegation. Sticking with Tottenham because apparently one entry wasn't enough for them, let's talk about Christian Stellini. When Antonio Conte's explosive rant about Tottenham's selfish players and the club's 20-year trophy drought led to his departure in March 2023, Stellini stepped up from assistant to acting head coach. The Italian had been Conte's trusted deputy for years, following him from Juventus to Inter Milan to Tottenham. Surely continuity would provide stability. It did not. Stellini's reign lasted precisely 4 matches. Spurs managed just 1 win, a 2-1 victory over Brighton, before everything fell apart. They lost to relegation-threatened Bournemouth, then came the massacre at Newcastle, 6-1, 5-0 down inside 21 minutes. Stellini admitted after the match that he'd chosen the wrong system, switching Spurs to a back 4 that was torn to shreds. He took full responsibility, describing the opening 25 minutes as the worst he'd ever seen in football. Within 48 hours, he was sacked. Ryan Mason was installed as interim manager for the second time, and Stellini's brief, brutal tenure entered the history books as one of the shortest and most humiliating caretaker spells in Premier League history. Then there's Frank Lampard's caretaker return to Chelsea. If you separate context from results, Lampard's first stint at Chelsea wasn't terrible. He navigated a transfer ban, finished fourth, reached the FA Cup final, and introduced academy talents. But his second stint, abysmal, doesn't cover it. Chelsea appointed their greatest ever goalscorer in April 2023 to steady the ship after Graham Potter's disastrous reign. Instead, Lampard presided over one of the worst runs in Chelsea's Premier League era. 11 games, 1 win, 2 draws, 8 losses. His return produced a pair of limp 2-0 Champions League defeats to Real Madrid, consigning Chelsea to their worst Premier League season ever. They finished 12th with just 44 points, a record low for the club. The team looked devoid of confidence, organisation, or any semblance of a plan. Mauricio Pochettino's subsequent appointment couldn't come soon enough. Back to Newcastle because, of course, we're back to Newcastle. After Kinnear's heart surgery forced him away, Chairman Mike Ashley turned to the ultimate fan favourite, Alan Shearer, the club's all-time leading goalscorer, a Geordie through and through, appointed with 8 games left to save them from relegation. Surely if anyone could inspire a great escape, it was Big Al? The answer was a resounding no. Shearer won just one of those 8 fixtures, a 3-1 victory over Middlesbrough that briefly lifted them out of the relegation zone, but defeats to Chelsea, Tottenham and Liverpool, plus draws with Stoke and Portsmouth, left them needing a miracle on the final day. It didn't come. A 1-0 defeat at Aston Villa, scoring a cruel own goal, confirmed relegation. Newcastle's 16-year stay in the Premier League was over. Shearer's stint yielded 5 points from a possible 24. He didn't get the job permanently, and he never managed again. For a man who achieved everything as a player at Newcastle, his managerial stint is a footnote he'd rather forget. Finally, we arrive at John Carver, Newcastle's third and final entry, a fitting hat-trick of incompetence that cements their status as the kings of interim catastrophe. Carver was appointed in January 2015 after Alan Pardew left for Crystal Palace, and what followed was equal parts tragic and comical. From his 20 matches in charge, Newcastle won just 3. The lowest point came between March and May, 8 successive Premier League defeats, a club record that still stands today. They narrowly avoided relegation only thanks to a 2-0 victory over West Ham on the final day. But it's what Carver said during that 8-game losing streak that immortalised his reign. While sitting 2 points above the relegation zone, having won 9 points from a possible 48, he declared, "I still think I'm the best coach in the Premier League." The collective response from football was laughter and disbelief. Carver later claimed the quote was taken out of context, but the damage was done. His name became shorthand for delusional confidence in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary. He left Newcastle when Steve McClaren was appointed, but his legacy as one of the worst interim managers in Premier League history was sealed. Do you know any other managers who belong on this list? Let us know in the comments. Remember to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel. Also be sure to turn on post notifications so that you never miss out on any new videos. Catch you in the next one. Bye.